Season 9 is here and it brings some humongous changes to the game. Today I am going to cover all of them. Tanks have a new passive where after 5 seconds of not taking damage, they will start regenerating health at 20 health per second. DPS, they also have the same passive where after 5 seconds of not taking damage, they will regenerate 20 health per second. Supports have gotten a buffed version of their passive where they now regenerate health after 2.5 seconds of not taking damage. All heroes' health pools have been increased from 15 to 20%. Melees have gotten buffed from doing 30 damage to 40 damage per hit, besides Ryan's hammer and Briggs' hammer. The cost of getting your ultimate has been universally increased by 10%, and all projectile sizes have been increased. Diva is getting a buff in the form of 75 armor for her mech form and 25 base health for her pilot form. She is also getting 0.1 meters added to the radius of her light gun, and her fusion cannon size is being increased by 0.05 meters. As for her self-destruct, the outer radius maximum damage is being increased from 900 to 1000. Her inner radius range is being increased from 4 to 6 meters. And finally, the cost of her ultimate is being increased by 10%. Moving on to Doomfist, he is getting 75 basic health. His hand cannon projectile size is being increased by 0.05 meters. His max impact damage from his punch is being increased by 25 damage. And the max wall slam damage is being increased from 30 to 40. And his ultimate cost is being increased by 10%. A Drunken Queen is getting 75 health, and the size of her Dragon Blade is being increased by 0.15. Plus for her ultimate, her wound damage is being increased from 60 to 90 over time. Plus its cost for the ultimate will be increased by 10%. Mauga's health is being increased by 100. His projectile sizes are being increased by, I think, 0.05. And his ultimate charge is being increased by 10%. Moving on to Orisa, she is getting 75 armor health. Her projectile size is being increased by 0.05%, and her ultimate cost is being increased by 10%. Ramatra's health is being increased by 75, and both his bullets and his punch size are being increased by 0.05, and his ultimate cost is being increased by 10%. Reinhardt is getting 50 white health and 25 armor health. His wall impact damage is being increased by 50. His rocket hammer damage is being moved up to 100 per swing, and his ultimate cost is being increased by 10%. Roadhog's health is getting increased by 100. His scrap gun size is getting increased by 0.05, and his ultimate cost is being increased by 10%. Sigma's shields are getting increased by 75. His weapons are getting 0.15 meters added, and his ultimate cost is being increased by 10%. Winton is getting 25 base health and 50 armor. His primary fire now does 75 damage a second instead of 60, and his secondary fire is being increased by 0.08 meters. While he's in his ultimate, every punch now does 50 damage instead of 40, and the cost is being increased by 10%. Wrecking Ball is getting 75 armor. His bullets are being increased by 0.05 meters, and his ultimate cost is being increased by 10%. Zarya is getting 75 base health, and her primary fire is getting increased from 0.15 to 0.20 meters. And her ultimate will cost 10% more. Moving on to DPS, Ashe is gaining 50 health. Her projectile size is being increased by 0.08 meters. Bob's damage per bullet is being increased from 40 to 17, and his ultimate cost is being increased by 10%. Bastion is getting 50 white health. His primary fire and his turret form fire are getting increased by 0.05 meters, and his bomb thing is getting increased by 0.15 meters, and his ultimate cost is being increased by 10%. A Cassidy is also getting 50 white health. His Peacekeeper size is getting increased by 0.08 meters. His ultimate's initial damage rate is being increased from 130 to 140, and the main damage rate for Deadeye is being increased from 260 to 300. Here's a graph made by Cactus Puppy to help show that. Also, his ult cost is being increased by 10%. Echo is getting 50 white health. Her primary fire is getting 0.10 meters added to it. Her focusing beam width is being increased to 0.25 meters, and her max duplication health is being increased to 350, and also she has a 10% added ult cost. Genji is getting 50 white health. Both his primary and secondary fire are getting increased by 0.10 meters, and his Dragon Blade swing recovery cooldown is being decreased from 0.9 to 0.7 seconds. Also, his ult cost is going up 10%. Hanzo is getting 50 white health, and all of his arrow sizes are getting plus 10 meters. His storm arrow damage is being increased to 75, and the cooldown for his storm arrows are being reduced by 2 seconds, and of course his ult cost is 10% higher. A Junkrat is getting 50 health. His primary fire is getting 0.10 meters added to it, and his concussive mine is getting increased by 0.50 meters, and his ult cost is getting 10% added. Mei is getting 50 health, and her secondary fire is getting 0.10 meters added, and her ult cost is 10% higher. Farah, this is a big one. She is getting a rework. She's having 50 health added, and her hover jets now have more movement in the air. Her speed boost is increased from 20% to 40%, but now you can't refuel while you're in the air. Her rocket launcher self damage is being decreased from 50% to 25%, and her recovery rate for the launchers are being decreased to 0.8 seconds. So now she can shoot faster. Her projectile size, her projectile speed is being increased to 40 meters per second. Their size is being increased by 0.15 meters, and her brand new ability, Jet Dash, gives you a horizontal boost in the direction you are moving. Her jump jets can now give you 50% of your fuel back, and they can temporarily overfill the max amount of fuel you have. But they are nerfing the maximum amount of height you can get from the jump jets by 20%. They are adding 4 seconds to the cooldown. Her boop now does 30 damage on impact, or actually on explosion. The cooldown is being decreased by 2 seconds, the knockback is being reduced by 10%, and the range is being decreased by 2 meters. Using her ultimate refuels her jets, but the ult cost is 10% higher. Reaper is getting 50 health, his shotgun size is getting 0.05 meters added, and his ult cost is getting 10% added. Sojourn is getting 50 health, her primary fire is getting 0.05 meters added. Her secondary fire is now 0.15 meters big, and her ult cost is now 10% higher. Soldier 76 is getting 50 health, his primary fire is getting 0.05 meters added to it, and his rockets are getting getting 0.10 meters added to it. Also, his ult cost is being increased by 10%. Sombra is getting 50 health. Her primary fire is getting 0.05 meters added, and her virus size is getting 0.10 meters added, and her ult cost is being increased by 10%. Symmetra is getting 50 shield health. Her primary fire width is being increased to 0.25 meters. Her secondary fire is getting 0.10 meters added, and her ult cost is 10% higher. A Torbjorn is getting 50 health. His primary fire is getting 0.10 meters added to it, and his secondary fire is getting 0.05 meters added to it. Also, his ult cost is up 10%. The Tracer is getting 25 health. Her primary fire has gotten 0.05 meters added to it, and her ult cost is 10% higher. Widowmaker has 25 health now, and her primary fire has 0.05 meters added to it, and her sniper form is getting 0.08 meters added to it, and her ult cost is going up 10%. Moving on to support, Ana is getting 50 health. Her unscoped rifle is getting plus 10 or 0.10 meters in size. Her scoped rifle is getting 0.08 meters in size, and her grenade is getting 0.15 meters in size, and her sleep dart is getting 0.10 meters added. Her ultimate cost is going up by 10%. Baptiste is getting 50 health. His primary fire is getting 0.05 radius or meters. His secondary fire is getting 0.10 meters added, and his ult cost is 10% more. A Brigand is getting 50 health. Her rocket flail is getting plus 10 damage, and her ult cost is being increased by 10%. Ilari is getting 50 health, and her primary fire is going up by 0.08 meters, and her ult cost is going up by 10%. Kiriko is getting 50 HP, and her kunai size is going from 0.18 to 0.25 meters, which is insane, and her ult cost is added by 10%. Lifeweaver is getting 50 health. His primary fire is getting buffed by 0.10 meters, and his ultimate requires 10% more charge to be active. Lucio is getting 50 health. His primary fire is getting 0.10 meters added to it. His boop damage is going up by 10, his boom knockback is going up by 12%, and his movement lockout duration is being increased by 0.15 seconds, which basically means that the enemies can't do anything for 0.15 more seconds when they get boomed, which is a huge win for the Lucio Mafia, and his ultimate cost is up by 10%. Mercy is getting 50 health. Her Acaduceus Blaster is getting 0.10 meters added. Her Guardian Angel time to jump is being reduced by 0.5 seconds, and her Sympathetic Recovery healing is getting increased to 40. Also, her ult cost is up by 10%. Moira is getting 50 HP. Her secondary fire and damage per second is being increased by 15, and her target acquisition radius is being increased by 0.10 meters, and her ult cost is being upped by 10%. Zenyatta is getting 50 health, half of which is shield health. His kick damage is being increased by 15, and the orbs and his orbs destruction are being increased by 0.10 meters. His ult cost is also up by 10%. Also, a Junkertown got a pseudo rework where they made it nighttime, and they added multiple structures to block lines of sight for heroes such as Widowmaker. You can see them right here. A competitive just got a total overhaul, and everybody got set to unranked. As you can see here, I still need to play my placement matches this season, but you can also see that you need 10 matches instead of 5. This should be very, very interesting for the game, and I can't wait to keep you updated. And that's it. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, be sure to comment, smash that like button, and subscribe. And I will see you next time.